Your body doesn't know the difference between mental, physical, spiritual, emotional stress, real, perceived, positive, negative, future, past, or present stressors. All it knows is that it has to keep you alive, and it has to keep you in an environment that is safe. And if your body doesn't feel safe, it's not going to heal.
Justin Roethlingshoefer is the man to talk to about HRV. Justin has 20 years of experience optimizing health and performance in himself and elite athletes, including for the NCAA and the NHL. Justin is the founder of Own It, an elite health coaching ecosystem. He is a sought-after speaker, a USA Today best-selling author with his most recent of 4 books titled The Power of Ownership, Redeem Your Health, Live Life by Design, and Break the Relentless Pursuit of Normal. He is here today to talk about HRV and how this important data point can shift us from being reactive with healthcare to what he calls proactive health ownership.
The one thing I'll dive into, Chris, I think it's important for the audience to listen or to hear this is...
Hi, my name is Chris Burris. I'm a longevity expert and the chief scientist at a lab focused on a longevity molecule. My primary focus is to help people live longer and better lives with science. Make sure to subscribe and share so you and your friends can live longer and better, so you and your friends can live beyond the norms.
Hi, and welcome to the next episode of the Live Beyond the Norms Health and Longevity Podcast. I met our next guest at a dinner with Ben Azadi. I didn't actually get a chance much, if any, of a conversation with him, but I did eavesdrop on the conversation he was having next to me, and I heard them discussing HRV. And then Ben Azadi mentioned that this next guest, Justin Roethlingshoefer, is the man to talk to about HRV. So I knew I had to have him on. A little bit about Justin. Justin has 20 years of experience optimizing health and performance in himself and elite athletes, including for the NCAA and the NHL, which is associated with one of his loves, hockey. A health scare where Justin was told he would not live past 35 caused him to pause and implement his own processes to address what the current healthcare system did not seem to be working on addressing. Justin is the founder of Own It, an elite health coaching ecosystem. He is a sought-after speaker, a USA Today best-selling author with his most recent of 4 books titled The Power of Ownership, Redeem Your Health, Live Life by Design, and Break the Relentless Pursuit of Normal. He is here today to talk about HRV and how this important data point can shift us from being reactive with healthcare to what he calls proactive health ownership. Justin, thank you for joining us today.
It's so great to be here, Chris. And again, I take us back to that dinner, and it was wild how all of a sudden, I think I was there for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. As we were leaving, you and I had the opportunity to connect, and I've been looking forward to this day to really dive into this conversation with you.
Awesome. Now, before we get into your area of expertise, I like to go farther back, like much farther back. What was it like growing up, little Justin? Where did you grow up? What were your parents like? And if there was some event or someone you could pinpoint as the reason you would ultimately become a professional athletic coach, a TED Talk speaker, an author, what or who would that be?
Yeah, so I grew up in the most loving home possible. I grew up in Canada, Edmonton specifically. And if you know anything about Edmonton, it is far, far north. It is long winters, dark winters, cold winters. And I just like to say we grew up with the kindest, most loving, hardworking people. And I think those values and those instincts were just instilled into me at a very young age. And so I really just have the utmost level of gratitude for growing up there. The house I grew up in, it gave me freedom to explore, freedom to dream. And that really started when I was 8 years old. And I just knew that I was going to be a part of the redemption story of the health of the world in some way, shape, or form. And I think a lot of people, they hear that and they're like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. It's so awesome to dream. It's so awesome to have something you're going after. But then they often forget that there's a journey that you have to go on in order to get there. There's things that you have to overcome. There's things you have to experience. And for me, I was an overweight kid. I was a fat kid. I was always teased. I was always made fun of. I was always left out. I was only ever validated for my athletic abilities, only ever told that I was good enough when I was winning, when I was doing certain things well. That fear of being fat and being made fun of and left out drove me to a state of anorexia through my teenage years, 16 years old, liver and kidney failure, fed through a feeding tube, really kind of a lot of come to Jesus conversations. But over the course of that time, I was always paraded through specialists, doctors' offices, eating disorder clinics, and everybody just asked a question of like, okay, how do we fix him? Like, how do we fix what's broken? And I started to see myself that way. Obviously, being a kid that had already overcome ADHD, OCD, dyslexia, like that, a lot of things that were just stacked against me. I became the depressed kid. The depressed kid became the addicted kid. The addicted kid became the kid that always strived, that was always trying to perform, always trying to prove himself. And when I came down to the States on a hockey scholarship, my biggest goal, my biggest mission was to go through schooling and use that schooling to answer the question of not how is something treated, but rather why is it happening? And it was at that moment that I did 2 undergraduate degrees, did my master's degree, did my postgraduate doctoral work in sleep and heart rate variability, and then stepped into some functional medicine. And that propelled me into the NHL and the NCAA, where I started to implement these processes that were so unique, so different, that were rooted in hyper-personalization, data. What is it telling us? What's the language of our body? If we can understand and connect back to this thing that we were given, that was created for us to ultimately carry out the call, then we can actually take back some power.
So at about 8 years old, you kind of described yourself as a fat kid, but also athletic, which is not necessarily intuitive. Talk a little bit about that. And then parents' role in kind of pushing you into athletics. Was athletics a place you landed for because you kind of had natural skill, even though you were heavier set? And how did that all kind of work together to shape you?
My first love is hockey. First love is hockey.
I got that impression from listening to some interviews and reading some stuff.
Yeah. I always wanted to be an NHL athlete, always wanted to be that guy. I just fell in love with the game at a young age. I mean, I think it comes with the territory being in Canada. You grew up with the Edmonton Oilers and going to games and hockey night in Canada. Like that was just my thing. I'll never forget. I never saw myself as overweight. I was just always very good at hockey. Like there was just something that I loved to practice. I woke up early. I'd go out and play street hockey. I'd go out on the outdoor rinks before school. I'd go to school. I'd go and play at lunch. I'd go and play at recess. I'd come home after school. I'd go and play some more. Like that was just who I was. Again, it's not even that we ate poorly. We ate the way that every other normal Canadian and American family ate at that time. Hamburger Helper and pasta and things that were convenient in a busy 2-parent working family. Like it wasn't anything crazy. And I was 11. I had just made a Western Canadian team, and I came off the ice, and one of the coaches came up to me and said, "Hey, I think it's time that you really focused on your fitness if you want to go somewhere special." And it hit me. It was the first time it hit me that like wasn't like everybody else, or that there was something wrong with me. As I started to do things a little bit different, I didn't really see any change to my body. And my parents, and again, remember, I had been made fun of. I had been teased relentlessly up until this point. And my parents, being the loving family, the loving parents they took me to the University of Alberta. They took me to this study, and it was for overweight kids. And so I walked into the room. I still remember it was a big classroom. There was a bunch of tests they had us fill out, a bunch of questionnaires, like how many hours of TV do you watch? What's your typical diet? How much activity do you get? And I'm filling this thing out, and I still remember calling the guy over. It says, "Hey, like it says hours per day of TV," and I said, "It starts at 1, but I don't know if I get 1 hour a week." And that right there, just all of a sudden again goes like, you don't fit in this room either. And I went the next day to this is one of the I'm writing about this in my current book. I wrote about it in my last book. But I still remember we walked in and it was fitness testing day. We walked into the University of Alberta, VO2 max testing, body composition testing. And as I walked in, there was logos of the Edmonton Oilers, logos of the Edmonton University of Alberta Golden Bears, the university team there, because this is where they do all of their testing. I walked in and my eyes just get big, right? It's like, my gosh, this to me is like the NHL Combine. This to me is like this is cool. And as I turn the corner, there's a guy on the bike doing his VO2 max testing, and his name is Ty Conklin. Ty Conklin was the backup goaltender for the Edmonton Oilers. He was actually doing his testing there. I'm a goaltender. He's a goaltender. It was like I was looking at that point like somebody that I idolized. Like, man, this is so cool. I see my future in front of me. And as I sat and watched him, he's sweating. He gets a towel. He gets off the bike. I'm going on next. He comes over to me. He fist bumps me. He goes, "Good luck, kid." And as I'm getting all dialed up, he comes back and he throws me a towel and he goes, "You're going to need this." And I'm just like, man, I feel so special at this point. And I got on the bike. I did my VO2 max test. I finished. The guy goes, "My gosh, you have like a VO2 that's close to Ty Conklin's." And it made me feel so good. As we finished up, everybody kind of reviewed the data points with us. They reviewed the graphs with us. And I finished in the 99th percentile. Basically, like, did not belong in that room. But yet, if you looked at me next to everybody else, you couldn't tell the difference. And again, it made me like not know who I was, not know where I fit, not know what I was all about. But yet I had a sense of confidence that, you know what, God's made me uniquely, and there's something about my journey that's going to be different. Until a week later, when I walk into school and all of a sudden everybody's teasing me, everybody's making fun of me, everybody's laughing and pointing. And I don't know why it's like turned up a notch. And as I turn the corner, there's probably 500 of the front pages of the newspaper, and it's a picture of me on the bike with that thing in my mouth, and the big headline says "Fat and Fit?" And it was like somebody had just ripped my heart out, because no, now I am the fat guy. That is what I am. And that's what they said. And so that for me was like the catapult, I think, into I know what I felt. I know what I felt as a kid. I know what I felt through my teenage years. I knew what I felt in all of this area. And I never wanted anybody else to feel that. But yet being in it, it drove me into that space of obsession. Like that's when my OCD took over. That's when these deep fears took over, and really kind of took me on my next step, which was to go in the opposite direction, which was anorexia.
Mm. And then was it through the anorexia that kind of led you into kidney failure? Was it like,
Yeah.
was this absolute starvation? Was there kind of any bulimia, which is throwing up? Like,
Yeah.
did you try it all? Probably, if I would guess.
Yeah. So this is really great. So actually, there was no bulimia because I was petrified of throwing up. I have not thrown. I have not thrown up.
You
Since
were
I've
wired
been,
not to be bulimic.
I have.
You
I
had
have.
that going for you.
I have not. I literally have not thrown up since I was 12 years old. So, and it was the flu, and it was a burger that I ate at Smitty's restaurant. I'll never go back there. Um, but I say all of this to say that it was exercise bulimia is what they called it, exercise nervosa. I can like talk you through this, Chris, as to like what my mindset was I had moved into the basement of our home, our family's home, simply because it was cold in the basement. I knew that if I could get myself into cold environments, that it would burn more calories. I would sleep with no sheets on. I would set my alarm every hour on the hour to do 50 push-ups, 50 sit-ups every single night. I would have to go up and down the stairs 5 times if there was a single staircase that I had to go through. Every time I walked through a door jamb, I had to do 10 squats. I couldn't walk from my locker in the locker rooms or at school. I had to run from locker to classroom, locker to classroom. I wasn't allowed to walk. I had to put myself in a space where I was constantly doing those things. I'd get to school in the morning. I'd go and swim. I'd go to class. I'd run around the school. I'd go and take my 4th block break, and I'd go and hop in the elliptical. Then I'd go to the hockey academy. Then I'd go to practice after school, all while trying to do this on a diet of apples and bananas, because I was petrified of what the opposite would actually do. And I still remember at 16, behind the mask, getting on the line. We're doing a simple skating exercise at the end of like a conditioning drill at the end of practice. We're on the goal line, and he'd blow the whistle. We'd have to skate to the other end and back. Every 45 seconds, we'd go again. And I still remember skating, feeling like I had no pop in my legs, no strength, exhaustion, and just tears streaming down my face at 16 years old behind a mask. And it was like nobody could see. suffering in silence behind this mask. And I think metaphorically, that mask became what I lived behind for a long time. It became what I lived behind, even as I was pursuing my schooling. As I say, hey, I'm trying to solve this problem, but at the same time, I'm not healed myself. At the same time, still striving for acceptance, still striving for relevance, still striving to be seen as successful, but really not understanding the detrimental facts that this has to my body deep at the cellular level.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that story. That's obviously deeply personal, and shifts. I think there's a lot of things going on probably between what you just described and really kind of this focus on HRV, but I want to try and get as much HRV value. So heart rate variability, let's first what is heart rate variability? And then we'll talk about kind of when you started getting focused on it in this kind of whole context.
Yeah, so heart rate variability, basically at the core, the most simple, basic definition I've been able to come up with, it's the language of your body in which it's communicating to you how well it's adapting to stress and strain. Your body doesn't know the difference between mental, physical, spiritual, emotional stress, real, perceived, positive, negative, future, past, or present stressors. All it knows is that it has to keep you alive, and it has to keep you in an environment that is safe. And if your body doesn't feel safe, it's not going to heal. And so that sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system rhythm, that you will, is constantly at play. And heart rate variability is that language or that data point or that biomarker or that communication system to tell us, are we adapting well based on the habits, behaviors, and lifestyles we've chosen, or are we not?
So that's how you use that piece of data. What is heart rate variability in terms of your actual heart rate? What does that look like?
It's great. So let's take you and me for an example, Chris, and let's say both of us has a resting heart rate of 60 beats per minute. 60 beats per minute, simple math, 60 beats divided by 60 seconds equals 1 beat per second. We would think that, it's beating at 1 beat per second, and that's why it beats at 60 beats per minute. Well, that's not how our body functions. Our heart actually beats at irregular intervals. It only beats when it has to. And so let's take you for an example. You're fit. You eat well. You're hydrated. You get great sleep at night. You've got great rhythms in your life between overreaching and stressing versus stepping back and regenerating and resting. Your body goes, man, I feel awesome. And I feel like I'm in a safe environment. I'm going to beat at 795 milliseconds, 895 milliseconds, 725 milliseconds, 987 milliseconds, very irregular with high degrees of variation. But at the end of 60 seconds, your heart is beaten 60 times. So high degree of variability, high heart rate variability. It's the measure of time between each successive heartbeat. Me, on the other hand, I'm not in great shape. I just eat what's convenient. I don't hydrate very well. I have coffee, caffeine to keep me going, energy drinks throughout the day, and that's what I consider my liquid. I don't get deep quality sleep. I'm on watching TV until I go to sleep. I've got the iPad playing throughout the night. I constantly am striving, constantly am overreaching, constantly am stressing, and don't actually give myself any rest or regeneration. My body goes, oh my gosh, we just have to keep Justin alive. And thus we're going to beat at 795 milliseconds, 790 milliseconds, 777 milliseconds, 785 milliseconds with a very low degree of variation. And so that is why a high heart rate variability, the higher your number, the better the adaptation to stress and strain. The lower the number, it's an alert, the lesser adaptation to stress and strain. And the degree of variation between successive beats is the measurement we pull to understand that language.
Your heart beats when it needs to, right? So it kind of makes perfect sense, but in your mind, 60 beats in a minute, that's 1 per second, and you just don't think about that. And so if you're in a much more stable, I don't want to necessarily, but it is relaxed state, but it is fit and all of the things that go into that, then your heart is going, hey, I don't really need to beat now. I can beat now, right? So then you get this, but then he lifted his arm, so I got to address that, and I need to get some blood over there. So you have this variability. So is that kind of the right perspective?
Yes, I'm going to say yes and. And what I mean by yes and is I think oftentimes when we think about relaxation or stress, we think about the pull your hair out stress
Mm,
or the like post it up on the couch,
relaxation.
relaxing.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not talking about any of that. What I'm talking about is you and me right here. We're having a great conversation. We're dialed in. We're having fun. And what I'm talking about is what's happening behind the scenes. Our cells, the way our bodies are functioning. If I haven't had a single thing to drink today, if I haven't gotten great night's sleeps, if I haven't actually been able to know the material and feel comfortable with you and comfortable with this, then my body would be like, "Oh my God, we gotta sort something out for Justin." And it's almost like in you ever get that feeling in your gut or that tingling feeling of maybe on your skin when your body's just like your nervous system's on overload and you don't know why. A lot of people talk about it as anxiety. That's your body not feeling safe. That right there is, if we were to look at HRV, HRV would be so low and very regimented and regulated because it doesn't feel safe. Versus right now, man, I'm comfortable. And so there's like this piece of me that is in this component of understanding that when it's not about the way the world has told us that relaxation and stressing matters. It's what's going on behind the scenes. How's our body actually functioning, actually responding to the habits, behaviors, and lifestyles? And the time interval is the language that our body's presenting heart rate variability to validate what we're doing or be an alert system to re-regulate us.
So it's how your autonomic nervous system is interpreting your entire system. And so yeah, maybe the heart variability changes because I lifted my arm. So that could be a minor stress, but overall you can be in this stress state. Kind of next thing is it would seem if you tend to just is it true that if you just have a faster heart rate, there's less opportunity for variability? I mean, that has to be one thing, right? So if I'm beating at 2 beats per second, and this is relative to our example, but if I'm beating at 2 beats per second, there's probably less time for heart rate variability, right? How does that sit in terms of like a slow resting heart rate versus maybe a workout heart rate or just an elevated because you're giving a speak or in the middle of a podcast kind of heart rate?
Yeah, so it's a great question, and I want to come back to again remembering and understanding what heart rate variability is measuring. We don't know the difference between mental, physical, spiritual, emotional stress. So when you all of a sudden go do a workout, HRV is going to drop. Why? It's a physical stressor. You're doing something difficult. If you're going to walk in and talk to your boss about something really difficult, and the heart rate starts to rise a little bit, well, HRV drops. That's an emotional stressor. If all of a sudden you're sitting at your desk and you wake up in the morning and you're just like, man, I hate what I'm doing every single day. I feel like I'm totally off purpose. I don't feel connected to what it is that I'm doing. I hate this. There's an anxiety that comes up. There's a spiritual stress that's amongst this that causes you to feel like you're in a wilderness, like you don't know what's going on. And so your body, it doesn't know the difference between these forms of stress. And thus, yes, you're right. When heart rate rises, heart rate variability drops. That's a correlative factor that we see, which is why I don't like to look at HRV over the course of a day and say, hey, how is this working? I like to look at it over the course of a week, over the course of 2 weeks, and look at trends. Are you trending upwards in heart rate variability? Are you trending downwards? Meaning, are the habits and behaviors and the lifestyles, the rhythms we're creating daily, weekly, and monthly, giving our body the capacity to handle what it is that we're expecting it to do? Or do we need to make some tweaks and changes to how we're operating so that we can start to do things in a little bit of a different way?
So how did you come to start focusing on HRV, right? Because this is, if I mean, the number has been available and people have been talking about it. You really have to have wearables. Those are relatively new. How did you kind of start focusing on, hey, there's this thing, HRV, and I can use it and it can drive some feedback loop?
I remember, and again, this goes back to giving you kind of the insight into little Justin, is at 13 years old, I got a medical journal from the National Strength and Conditioning Association. And I read something and it said, understanding your health with heart rate variability. And I read this article and I just loved it. And for my birthday that year, I said to my parents, "Hey, I need a heart rate monitor." And remember, this is 13, so this is 20, this is 25 years ago.
Yeah.
So year 2000,
You need
right?
what?
Yeah,
What and
exactly.
what do you need that for? And it
Exactly.
was
There's like,
probably
what's
not
wrong? Are you
cheap at the
sick?
time.
Yeah, what's wrong? Are you sick? And it's not like today where a heart rate monitor you can go buy a Polar H10 for $70. It's like, no, this thing's like $800-900. And they're like, "Why do you need this? Like, what is this for? Are you sick?" And I was like, "No, this is." I showed them the article. I talked to them a little bit about it, and anyways, we pooled everybody's money, and that's what I got for my birthday. And so I became the guy that would use a heart rate monitor at night. I'd walk around with it all day. I'd have the watch on. I'd be looking at it. I'd download my data into the little computer we had and get the full spreadsheet outline, and I'd actually calculate HRV daily manually. And
Whoa.
yes, and
Whoa.
yes, and so you talk about
That
this
was
kid's
worth
different.
repeating.
Like put him in the special classroom. Like leave him alone. Um, but as so, anyways, I started tracking this thing when I was 13 years old, and then as I started to understand it, it just connected me to my body. It connected me to what was happening. It connected to me to what was going on. And so even as I saw this low number, because remember, I'm anorexic at the time. I'm not eating. I'm not sleeping. I'm my body's underfueled. I'm in a constant stress state. Low HRV. And I'm sitting here, I'm going, well, why isn't it getting better? I'm working hard. I'm doing all the disciplines. I'm doing all the hacks that everybody has told us to do. I'm exercising, I'm training, I'm running, I'm in the cold showers, I'm blah, 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 blah. But didn't understand balance. And I hate that word. Didn't understand rhythm. And that wasn't until I got to college at 19 and started to go into all of my undergraduate degrees, my master's degree, and
So at 19, are you still kind of still experiencing anorexia as a piece, or had you kind of put that I don't know thing down?
yeah, great question. To be honest with you, I don't think you ever fully eliminate it. There's even like today, there's body dysmorphia, there's thoughts, there's emotions that still come up, but now I'm equipped to deal with them. I'm equipped to understand where they're coming from, equipped to see the lies that the enemy talks to me through my mind and through these different components that I'm able to pick apart and dismantle even before they can get a foothold inside of me. And so I say that to say I don't think you ever outgrow it or you walk away from it. It's just something you're better able and to handle, equipped, and you're able to shine a light on the darkness a little bit. But at that point, at 17, 18, I had a coach that I worked with. His name's Carl McPhee in Edmonton that just took me under his wing and just loved me, taught me, coached me, guided me, and really helped me heal in a big, big way that had exponential effect, that I was just blessed, like I said, to come down to the States on a hockey scholarship and kind of provide that next level for me. I'll fast forward a little bit just so that you can kind of see where I started to implement this. As I was working through my master's degree in postgraduate research at Miami of Ohio, I was the director of strength and conditioning for their hockey program.
Just pause 1 second there. Miami, Ohio. That's in Dayton. Is that right?
That's in Oxford, Ohio.
Oxford. It's not because I actually graduated from high school just outside of Dayton, Ohio, and I remember people talking about Miami, Oxford. That's fairly close, or do I just have it?
No, it's about an hour and a half.
Okay, so it's a little farther than I was thinking, but yeah, go ahead. So I'm familiar with the territory.
Yep. One of the things that I had implemented for them was it was a product out of Finland, and it was called Check My Level. And what Check My Level was, this is pre-Whoop, this is pre all of these things. This is 2010, 2011. And you would take basically this little strip and put it on the inside of your forearm, and it would attach to your index finger. And it would send an electrical pulse in, and it would almost kind of do this. And it was measuring the time intervals between those successive beats and would give you a readiness score with a heart rate variability number. And so as I'm trying to help people understand this and say, hey, we're holding you back from heavy strain in practice, or we're going into a lighter lift today, or you're going to do zone 2 cardio today, you're going to do this. Everyone's like, what is happening? Like, I don't understand this. Why aren't we training as a team? Why aren't we doing these things individually? I don't understand this little flicker thing on my hand and this metric you're talking about. And so that was really kind of like the depths of like understanding that I had 15 years ago that we were using, which really started to propel my career into the NHL and a lot of the data utilization to create N of 1 solutions that decreased injury rates, decreased sickness rates, decreased all of these burnout factors that would typically plague these athletes. And we saw this abundance of energy, this increase in performance, this longevity and stability and sustainability of their careers, which became super like amazing. But then we also started to go to a deeper level and, okay, now how do we increase HRV? How do we start to increase capacity? And I can kind of go that direction for you as well here.
Hey, super quick break from the podcast. Hopefully you're loving it. This is a way you can support the podcast and take advantage of a great offer. We're offering 50% off of one of our MCT bottles. MCT is an amazing oil. Add the ESS 60 molecule to it. It's even more amazing. All you got to do is leave a review on iTunes, send us a notification that you've left that review. We'll get you a coupon code that'll get you 50% off of our MCT oil and free shipping. Back to the podcast.
You're on the bleeding edge of this is kind of the interpretation that I have. And that was driven by, frankly, your parents and family's support of getting you this heart rate monitor when you're much younger at an expensive price point. And so then you just had so much experience with it. You had a lot of confidence that you could carry this, even to go through the athletes, right? So when you're the relatively lowly trainer relative to the athlete, right? Like it's a relative thing, but it's definitely not lowly when you're optimizing the athletes. And these athletes are like, just let me be an athlete and live today. And you're like, that's a bad idea. How long did some of that take for them to really sit in and go like, oh, this guy really does know what he talks about? I'm sure some adopted and were comfortable, and others were like, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
As I was doing my master's degree at the University of Louisville, Tina Murray, who is the director of strength and conditioning at Louisville, she just gave me, I just honor her so much because she gave me a runway to make mistakes. She gave me a runway to ask questions. And so we were working with women's basketball, a premier sport at the school. We went to 2 Final Fours, a national championship, lost to UConn, and just used data and heart rate variability. And I got to play around with like the best athletes in the world, to be honest with you, when it comes to basketball. It gave me, again, the confidence with somebody who has so much respect in the field, saw value in me and what I was doing, that it like, no, keep going. You're onto something, keep going. Which then as I stepped into my own program, and the head coach at the time there was Enrico Blasi, who again gave me the opportunity to, he wanted to do something different. He's always been cutting edge. He's always been wanting to improve the program. So I was given a lot of authority, quite frankly, when I probably shouldn't have as a 24, 25-year-old kid. Like I didn't have a lot of experience under my belt. But when you think about that, you started looking at this at 13 years old, you actually like, hey, the guy has more than a decade worth of knowledge that we could probably capitalize on. But it happened pretty quickly, to be honest with you. Just gaining trust, gaining the trust of the athletes, the coaching staff, building the relationships, and then seeing the results, which I think was really cool. And so it wasn't as difficult as you think, because I think another skill set that I've kind of built is, yes, I'm a practitioner. Yes, I'm a researcher. Yes, I love the educational side of it. But what I love even more is I love to be a coach. I love to be the implementer, the integrator, the way in which we apply it, because knowledge without application is simply a waste. And that bridge is what I became very good at communicating. And I think where we saw a lot of the breakthroughs.
a great communicator, because when you're doing these kind of cutting edge things, you've got to be able to communicate to convince. Like that's the reality. So you start looking at this, hey, let's just hold back on training. That's one strategy so that they're not operating at this kind of really low HRV. And then you start exploring, well, how can we improve it? Like maybe like, great, like don't kill ourselves. Like that's one strategy. And then like, what are the strategies? So talk about diving into that kind of perspective.
When we look at your body's a miracle. Your body, Chris, my body, Chris, our bodies are miracles. We've got 30 trillion cells that make up our body. Those cells are regenerating at 500 million every 84 days. And that means that approximately every 5 to 7 years, we become a completely brand new cellular human being. So if we think about that, if we were designed to heal, designed to thrive, why do we see so much breakdown? And that caused me to actually go in, okay, well, what does a cell need in order to thrive? Well, it needs 3 things. It needs oxygen, it needs the ability to remove toxins, and it needs nutrients. Without those 3 things, it starts to create stress. Stress that the nervous system recognizes and thus decreases HRV. So for me, I'm like, wow, if HRV tells me that my body is functioning at a great level, then I need to figure out how do I get my HRV up? And these are the 3 avenues in which I can do it. What are the languages of oxygen? VO2 max. What's the languages of ability to remove toxins? It's going to be sleep quality. What's the language of nutrients? It's going to be cellular deficiencies. And so now I have 3 ways to understand how are we supporting the nervous system, heart rate variability, and how are we ultimately restraining it? And so people typically think, oh, fitness, sleep, and food. It's like just randomly go and throw this stuff at it. But no, there's data. VO2 max is something we have to know. It's the language of our body of how efficient are we at utilizing oxygen, not just exercising, but you and me sitting here. If you have a VO2 max, again, higher VO2 max, better, greater efficiency, lower, less efficiency. Chris, if you have a VO2 max of 50 and I have a VO2 max of 40, is it more stressful on my or your body just sitting here doing a podcast?
I would imagine yours, or maybe it's pretty relatively close if it's way down. But yeah, the intuition is yours because you don't have as high a VO2 max, so your body has to work harder.
Work harder to get oxygen. So now that you go and extrapolate that out, playing with kids, going upstairs, getting groceries, exercising, sleeping at night, everything in my day that I do comparative to you is going to be more stressful on my body. And that's not even something I'm conscious of. Then you go to the second level and you go to sleep quality. Well, if I'm not getting 38 to 50% of my total sleep time in REM or slow wave sleep, because that's the only time that the glymphatic system is active, which is like the car wash for the brain and the cells. And then if I don't actually sweat every day, basically turning on the lymphatic system to get it out through sweat, the respiration system getting the toxins out through breath, being able to have my urinary system operating well, getting the toxins out through urine, my bowel system getting it out through excremation, then I'm holding on to toxins. And if I'm holding on to toxins, what does that tell my body? Hey, I'm not safe. Something's going on. I have to work harder to clear the toxins out of your body, but now they're still backed up. And now I don't actually have an elimination system for them. Well, my gosh, HRV plummets. And so we start to think about this. And then thirdly, where we start to look at the nutrients in our cells, this isn't just a random blood test to say, hey, is our cholesterol good? Is our triglycerides good? What's our HbA1c number? No, this is what's in the blood from the supplements we take, the food we eat, and getting absorbed into the cell for the body to use. And I've seen thousands of times where all of a sudden we have this high level of blood serum vitamin, mineral, amino acids, but in the cell, we're functionally deficient, meaning our body doesn't have the core baseline foundational building blocks to actually function. Vitamins, minerals, amino acids are responsible for every single process in the body, 100% of them. And so if we're deficient in those, your body thinks you're starving and thus can't actually operate like a well-oiled machine. And so these are the things that we start to look at. And now you start to see how they're integrated, right? Because here, let's go for a second. If you actually have a low VO2 max number and you don't utilize oxygen very well. Now, that means that you don't get oxygen to your brain very well. You don't get oxygen to your muscles very well. So you're probably also low on energy. If you're low on energy, what's your body going to signal to you? My gosh, I need sugar. So you're probably going to go and dive into something like a processed food or something sugary or a cookie or a snack.
Twinkies. That's what I
Yeah.
used to. Yeah, Twinkies.
Yeah. You're not going to go after something that's nutrient dense that your body's going to be able to pull nutrients from. So you're becoming more nutrient depleted while at the same time having less oxygen flow through your body. And then when you try to go to sleep, because your body doesn't feel safe, it's not going to let you go into those deep stages of REM and slow wave sleep, which is going to stimulate and toxin removal. So now you're storing more toxins. And we start to see how our body stays toxic, how it stays in this state of chronic fight and flight. Not because we need to take a vacation, not because we need to go and rest more, but actually because we need to do things much more personalized in these three areas, from get our VO2 max up, make sure we turn on our elimination systems, and number three, make sure we're getting food that is based around absorbing nutrients into the cell. If we can do these three things, we all of a sudden see an increase in HRV because we see a decrease in stress and a better rhythm of how our body's functioning.
So I love this concept, right? Because HRV, heart rate variability, oh, it's heart. And then VO2 max, let's just focus on VO2 max. But I think interesting, because I hadn't thought about this. Let's just say we both have VO2 max of 40, but I'm burdened by toxins, right? So I'm working out and I'm keeping my VO2 max at 40, and maybe some of that's willpower, maybe some of that's genetics, but I'm under more stress. So I'm probably going to have a lower heart rate variability because I've got a toxic burden that you don't have, right? So it's all interrelated. Yeah, that's and you talked about, having a VO2 max, a better VO2 max, and even elimination. You want to talk about lymphatic and urine and feces, like all of these things benefit from motion, right? And so when we, you and I preach, you should be moving at least 30 minutes a day, whatever it is, even if it's only whatever it is for you that is low enough of a threshold to get you to do it. Yeah, you have goals, get it more, whatever. But if it's 5 minutes, get out and do 5 minutes, right? Whatever that threshold is that causes you to not 30 minutes is too long. No, whatever it takes to get to that. That's pretty amazing.
The one thing I'll dive into, Chris, I think it's important for the audience to listen or to hear this, is it's kind of like that next step on my journey. And so as I was going through and implementing this, we started to see great results. And what typically happens when you start to see great results? Well, you start businesses, you take on more responsibility, you start speaking on more stages, you start writing books, you start doing all of these things. And that's what I started to do in my life. And as I started to take all these things on, what I noticed, and this was right around 32 years old, was that I started to wake up with low back pain. I started to wake up exhausted, not refreshed. I started to bloat every single time I ate. I started to have this anxiety throughout the day that never came about before. I had just done a photo shoot for Men's Health. I had just qualified for my first CrossFit Games. I say all of this because I was still eating well, quote unquote. I was still training well, quote unquote. I was still focused on how I was operating, but my body wasn't doing well. I still remember going to every functional doc. I went to every doc at the team. They were like, "You're the picture of health. Your blood work, blood serum testing came back fine. I don't know what you want me to say." Functional doc, "Oh, you know what? You've got this gut issue. Let me give you $10,000 worth of supplements and that'll solve your problem." Didn't work. But it was at that point that I was like, God just struck me with a chord and he said, "Why don't you start measuring the same things that you're measuring with your athletes on yourself?" And it was at that point that I looked, and for somebody who is at that level of fitness, you'd expect to have a better VO2 max than 43. At somebody who was getting 27% of their sleep quality that was necessary versus 38% that's required to get the appropriate amount of toxic release. My nutrient deficiencies, I had 17 functional deficiencies for vitamins and minerals and amino acids at my cellular level, and my my HRV was 64. And I say all of that to say that all four of those metrics were below where they should have been, especially for who I was. And that caused me to go, you know what? I'm not crazy. I shouldn't continue to be gaslit and give my control over to this system that we operate in when it comes to our health, but I need to take ownership back. And I said, there's something going on. And so was fortunate enough to get a colonoscopy and endoscopy. They found 4 cancerous polyps in my colon and a precancerous ulcer in my stomach. And that's when they told me I wouldn't see 35. And I was like, you know what? This isn't an athlete problem. This is a human problem. And that's what drove me to make the next step and the next step in my journey, which was to build Own It and to build this ecosystem where we empower, equip, and educate leaders to take ownership of their health so they can ultimately realize greater impact, influence, and legacy. Because when we are well and we can heal, that's when we can step into what we're truly called to do at a higher level.
A couple of things. One, in my research for you, I did not find a men's health mention. You should add that. I did not mention kind of top level CrossFit. I think that's worth adding. Although it might, some people might argue it expresses dysfunction, because I know a lot of people look at CrossFitters and they're like, oh my God, that's way too much. Real quick, best kind of thing you think of in terms of sleep quality, in terms of a wearable device. I have an Oura Ring. It says I don't get deep sleep. I don't feel tired. I don't feel exhausted. So I'm kind of suspicious of it. Do you lean on one tool versus another?
There's a couple of things that I would look at with that, Chris, because I think sometimes, especially because it's technology, right? We sit back and we go, and I hear this all the time with heart rate variability when people look at it through their Oura Ring or their Whoop band or whatever it is. They're like, oh, the data must be wrong. And the thing about these companies, if they're billion-dollar companies, they're putting major dollars into this research. And when you look at the accuracy of what it's pulling, it's really good. It's really good in terms of where they're at. Are they better at certain things than others? Without a doubt. But if you're looking at the same data constantly over time and the trends is that you don't get a lot of deep sleep, that's a signal. It's like, hey, what's going on? What's going on? Is it that we're not in a deep enough parasympathetic state heading into bed? Have we not prepared the right way? Are there some certain things that we can do from a neurological downregulation system at night? Can we start to do some, is red light going to help? Is some breath work going to help? Is some type of brain dump or journaling going to help? Is some type of connection with your community or people around you before sleeping going to help? Is there some type of something going on within your bedroom? Is it not dark enough? Is it not cool enough? Is it too hot in your bed at night? Like, there's certain things that we can start to look into. Are you waking up too many times to go to the bathroom in the night? Like, all of these things are things we can start to explore that can help to elongate this. And then we can start to see the impacts as we continue to go. Because I think so often we downplay the effectiveness of this. And going back to your question, the two big players that I love and trust the most, just because their data has been validated. I've been the guy that, and again, anecdotally has validated a lot personally, like wearing the heart rate strap, wearing the Whoop band, wearing the Oura Ring, wearing the Polar band, wearing, you name it. I think I had 14 wearable devices on myself at once. But when you actually start to look at it, I love Whoop and Oura. I think they're hands down the best on the market. They continue to innovate. They continue to push. They continue to research. They continue to do all of these things. And they've got copious amounts of data that they've been able to work off of. And so I love those two for heart rate variability, sleep quality, and a couple of the other biometrics. And then the last thing I'll say is we never want to compare apples to oranges, meaning I don't ever want to go and have my 8 sleep mattress, my Whoop band, an Oura Ring, and a Garmin, and look at all 4 of my HRVs and try to figure out which one is actually the best one, because it's all pulling slightly differently. It's all pulling in different ways. It's all on different wrists, different arms, different levels. And so if we're able to choose one, we have to go all in with one. And when we go all in with one, we start to then understand the trends. Remember, that's the key, is the trends of what we're looking at. And the trends can validate the direction we're going, the habits, the behaviors, the changes, or it can redirect us so that we can start to move in a direction that's really working well.
Yeah, so really your answer, at least to me in this context, is do more biohacking, like actually spend some time and track and make some changes to the sleep, to kind of my sleep hygiene and see what impact that has, because the data is probably something that I should be listening to. You start Own It. Ownership is a big part of Own It. And some of it is, at some point you've got, you're kind of doing insane things where you're, waking up in the middle of the night and doing push-ups, where you're running between, you're doing squats as you're going through doors. And this is, there has to be a component of balance, right, to owning it. Talk a little bit about that and talk about kind of what your approach is typically, and then we'll get into our wrap-up questions.
Yeah, so I think if you look back on that, and I talked about in the power of ownership, is you earn your health or you earn your illness. It's a controversial, contrarian type statement, but I truly believe you earn your health or you earn your illness. And for me, I earned mine. I earned my kidney and liver failure. I earned those precancerous diagnoses because of the things that I was doing, because of the ways I was living, because of the habits and behaviors, because of the things I continually compromised on, because of the things that I continually justified. There's a big identity piece that comes into this for a lot of people. It's why we cannot dissociate mental, physical, spiritual, emotional stress. It's why we cannot take these in silos. And when we attack them in silos, we continue to disintegrate our health because we're integrated beings. And so if I think about like identity, and I want to talk about this just for a second in the sense of ownership, is many of us think that we're after discipline. It's like you need to be a disciplined person. Discipline wins. We're taught that, preached that, told that from day one. And so everybody's saying, okay, well, how do I create more discipline? And they lean on more willpower. They lean on more of these things. Well, I actually don't think it's discipline we're after. We have to come back to devotion. What is it that you're devoted to? What is it that you're truly devoted to? Like, what is that burn inside of you? Like, if I was to ask you, Chris, like, why do you do this podcast? Why do you carve time out every single day? Why do you go to these different conferences? Why do you wake up in the morning and do the thing that you don't want to do when nobody else is looking, because nobody else would hold you accountable or nobody else would know? But why do you do that? Because you're devoted to something. There's a burn that is so deep inside of you. And my devotion and my burn is to ultimately redeem the health of the world. I've known that since I was 8. That's been a burn that's on my heart. It's something that is so deeply rooted in me. It's that ember that's continually glowing and burning so brightly inside of me. And when I get so clear on what I'm devoted to, that creates dedication. That means that I'm going to now commit to things that some people won't understand. So I'm going to commit to being all that I can be, eating well, sleeping well, getting the energy, getting these things, not because it's punishment for me or I'm restricting myself, but rather that's what's required in order to have the capacity to do what's going to be necessary in order to take this the length in which I'm here on earth for. Like that's how this thing is done. And as a consequence, you fall into discipline. There's certain things that just happen every single day simply because that's tied back to what I'm devoted to. And so if we can change the narrative of what do you need to be disciplined on and strip out the willpower, strip out the white knuckle grips on these certain habits and behaviors, but rather come back to, no, what are you devoted to? What do you really want? You don't want the six-pack abs. You don't want the muscles. You don't want the centerfold in the magazine. What you really want is you want to feel confident. You want to feel like you can do anything in the world. You want to feel unstoppable. You want to feel like you have massive energy for that thing that's burning so brightly and deeply inside of you. You want to be the man, the woman, the father, the daughter, the mother, the son for the life that you're walking into. That's what you want. And when you can tap into that, the consequence of discipline is actually the look that you thought you wanted in the first place. That's the beautiful thing, is what you're chasing starts to turn around and chase you simply because you've got the order right.
Man, that's fantastic. And I know actually I ordered, you have a journal, you're right, which is really you're able to leaf through a couple of pages. It hasn't received it yet. And I know that some of that process is like journaling and understanding these things. So, wow, that's Own It. We will talk here after the wrap-up questions on how people can find you and connect with you. But let's hop into our wrap-up questions. Justin, do you have a target age that you want to live to?
Whenever the good Lord takes me home.
And if you had a number, if I made you and twisted your arm and you had to give a number, what would that number be?
My health span minus a second. Let's put it that way.
All right. How long do you think humans can live?
I know these are supposed to be rapid fire and you're going to fire me for this.
No, this is fine. No, we're good.
But it's like,
Think about it.
can I talk for a second just why I have such a problem with that, with
Yeah,
like with
100%.
that, with the whole concept of this in biohacking? Like I know a lot of my colleagues, they're sitting here saying we should live to 120. We should be able to, we're going to push the norm to where norm is now, we can actually outrun death altogether. Is that the way that what I'm so convicted on, what I truly believe and know is truth, is that each and every one of us have a calling on our lives. And that calling of our lives is unique. And that we've been given this body for a period of time that none of us know how long that is. But if we steward our bodies well, if we steward this thing well, we can carry out this call in the biggest, most impactful way possible. And when that journey is done, when that journey is over, when we've poured it out, when we've finished and completed our race, not on our timeline, but on the timeline that we've been given by God himself, it is at that time that we're going to be taken home. And I truly believe that the degree in which we steward is the degree in which the impact we will have. And so while everybody's out there chasing a number, I'm out here chasing impact. I'm out here chasing call. And I'm out here chasing obedience. And if we can come and rewire that thought process, it's at that point that we're going to start to live freely. We're going to start to live more fulfilled, more abundantly, and truly receive what it is that's already prepared for us.
So maybe I can tweak this question and say, how long would you like to be delivering impact?
As long as the good Lord needs me. I mean, I know you're looking for a number, but it's like, I just don't have one.
Okay, that's fine. All right. What are 2 to 3 protocols, habits, mindsets? Let's call them shortcuts because everybody likes shortcuts. To longevity and a long health span that you would share.
Number 1, know your data. Number 1, know the language of your body. Understand that. And number 2, get a coach. Get somebody who is so educated on this, so knowledgeable on this, that aligns with your value system and what it is that you're trying to do. Learn and glean off of him and time collapse 25 years of what it could have taken you to actually figure this out for you.
Excellent. So we've got know your data, get a coach. Anything else that you would throw out there?
And get connected to your body. Like understand what it needs. Like truly know. Like there's no better teacher, no better educator than your body. But first, you have to understand how to know that language.
Excellent. And what are 1 to 2 things people get absolutely wrong regarding longevity and a long health span? And we may have kind of hinted at that on questions 1 and 2.
I think this is great. To be honest with you, I think it's following the audio clips or the video
Memes or
snippets.
reels,
Like,
yeah.
exactly. I think it's falling for a lot of those and not truly understanding the deeper context, because there's now more than ever, there's more than enough information out there. But I think it's a confusion level that now is an issue. It's like, eat fruit, don't eat fruit. Eat meat, don't eat meat. Eat vegetables, don't eat vegetables. Do zone 2 training, no, only do zone 5 training. Get lots of sleep, no, make sure you get sleep a little bit less with a nap in the day. It's like, I don't know what to do. And I always come back, and I actually did a reel on this the other day where I was listening to a couple different experts and influencers, if you will. Based on what they were saying, I was like, it may work for them. They may have gotten great results, but that's them. I don't know if it works for you. I don't know if it works for me, because each of us are so uniquely different, uniquely created, have different requirements, stresses, strains on our body. And the biggest thing is, how do we help this thing feel like it's in a safe environment to continually heal and recover and regenerate over and over and over again?
So I think maybe it's kind of summary of what they get wrong is watching the videos and thinking that it applies to them without actually testing and understanding.
Yeah, without actually, I think taking guidance at face value rather than understanding their own personalized journey.
And Justin, how can people contact you?
Yeah, so if you are interested in just more about Own It, what it is that we do, ownitcoaching.com is a great place to go. Otherwise, I live on Instagram at Justin, ROETH is where you can find me. And would love to hang out with you guys there.
Excellent. And what in the near future are you excited about?
2026 is going to be amazing. I've got a new book coming out in 2026.
What's the do you have the title for it already?
It's called Holy Health.
Holy Health. I love it.
Holy Health, the waking truth for a sleeping world. And it's going to be a lot of fun. There's a whole bunch of really cool announcements that are going to come with it. People involved, documentaries, nationwide programs, some really cool things that we're launching. So I can't wait.
Sounds like you're trying to have an impact or something. I don't know.
Something small. Just going back to that little 8-year-old kid, being a part of the redemption story, the health of the world.
That's awesome. All right. So you can find Justin, ownitcoaching.com, Justin Roeth. So that's JUSTINROETH. That's where you are on social medias.
You got it.
Excellent. Justin, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's been so great, Chris. I appreciate you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Live Beyond the Norms podcast. Make sure to subscribe and follow. Also, make sure not to be that guy, the guy sharing this podcast with people who are not interested in living beyond the norms. If you would like to learn more about the ESS60 molecule, the molecule responsible for the single longest longevity experimental result on mammals in history, a full 90% extension of life, visit myvitalc.com. That's myvitalc as in carbon.com.